Good morning, everybody. I would like to call the May 6, 2025 Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation led by Commissioner Flowers, followed by the pledge by Vince Nowicki.
Heavenly Father, as we come before you on this absolutely beautiful day, we come and give you thanks. We are thankful that we are able to make ourselves present so that we can do the work of the people. We are thankful and grateful for those who serve in the military, for those who are present here today, who think it not robbery to protect those of us that are here, all within the boundaries of the continent of the United States of America. We ask for a special blessing for those who may be sick among us, for those that are in the hospital, for any of our employees and our community residents who may be suffering at this time. We ask that you provide them with a hedge of protection and just a simple thought of mercy and healing. Lord God, we're thankful and grateful for the staff. They've done a yeoman's job over the past few months as it relates to trying to help families become whole again and get back into their homes. And as we enter into a new hurricane season, Lord God, we just ask that you move the winds to the east and to the west so that they do not prevail against us. We ask that for this meeting on today, that clear hearts, thoughts, and minds prevail, that we have a good discussion, and that we continue to do the work so that it blesses all the residents of this wonderful county that we live in. And last but certainly not least, we are grateful and thankful that we have been allowed to serve. It is not something that we take lightly, but it is something that we do with all humility. In these and all other blessings we ask in the majestic name of Jesus Christ, the one who sits on the throne of grace and mercy and provides us with blessings each and every day. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That was a beautiful invocation. Commissioner Scheer had an unexpected emergency this morning and will not be able to join us today. Next, I would like to invite Karen Miller, the flotilla commander from the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, Flotilla 11-1, to the podium. Well, thank you so much for coming this morning. I had the pleasure, about a month ago, I guess, of joining you all at your 75th anniversary dinner, which was just a great occasion. And the amount of volunteer hours that you all do for boater safety on the waterways is just absolutely incredible to me. I mean, some of you have literally done it for decades, volunteering 30, 40, 50, even sometimes more hours a week. So I can't thank you enough for that. So as Floridians, we are blessed with access to some of the most beautiful waterways in the country. Boating is a cherished part of our way of life, bringing families, sportsmen, and outdoor enthusiasts together. Over 100 million Americans participate in boating each year. But with that enjoyment comes a responsibility to protect lives and promote safety on the water. And let us take this opportunity to encourage all boaters to practice safe boating by properly preparing before they head out on the water, by carrying life-saving emergency distress and communication equipment, participating in boater safety courses, and the Coast Guard Auxiliary does some fabulous boater safety courses. I've taken them myself, undergoing free boater safety checks, wearing life jackets, and staying sober behind the wheel. Together, we can ensure our waters remain a safe and enjoyable resource for everyone. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that May 17th through the 23rd, 2025, be recognized as National Safe Boating Week. Commander, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much. And then we'll get a group picture. Good, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for listening to this proclamation. It's so important to us because National Safe Boating Week is just 1 week out of the year, and we're looking for this to be basically your lifelong. We're going to be doing a couple activities during that week. In particular, on the 17th, we're going to be at Bel Air Boat Ramp, inspecting vessels to make sure they're safe. If any of you are boat owners, please join us down there anytime after 9 o'clock in the morning. The following weekend, the 24th and 25th, we're offering a boating safety course right here in Clearwater on North Fort Harrison. Again, even if you've taken one a while ago, it's a great time to have a refresher. The final message for National Safe Boating Week, please wear your life jacket no matter when you're out there. Don't worry about it, just trying to get it on in an emergency. Wear it all the time, and boat sober. Thank you.
And I'm sure they'll also accept any volunteers, so anybody who has a little spare time on their hands. And so a few years ago, my wife and I took the boater safety course, and we're, about halfway through it, and my wife looks up and says, "You mean there's a test at the end?" And there was a test, and we both passed amazingly, so, all right. So if we could have all the commissioners come up for a group photo. Okay, next we're going to move on to citizens to be heard. The first speaker we have is Elizabeth Anderson, followed by Ron Walker.
If I was dressed like the woman in the green, I would get a roof. I
Morning.
I had the Hurricane Helene took my car, blew up and took off the roof. I live on Island Estates. My mother gave me the house, and I've been in a hotel in FEMA Fairchild. We were very nice, Fairfield. But I was wondering if I could get a little help sometime with the roof. And I'm living in the trailer, and there's no box springs, and I know now when you're old you need box springs, because that's why I'm on the cane. And this one was so helpful. She helped me find this place. And I that's all I have to tell you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Kind of sad, but is that it?
Barry, do we have anybody here who can help her? Okay. Do we have her? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, next we have Ron Walker, followed by David Ballard-Geddes Jr.
Ron Walker, 7100 Overton, Largo. There's a gravy train, guys, that passes regularly through Florida. It stops often at Miami-Dade County and unloads freight, moves over to Broward County and unloads freight. But when it gets to Pinellas County, this gravy train just keeps passing through, loaded with freight. That freight being untold cash. The reason it doesn't stop in Pinellas County is we don't have a stop sign. What the stop sign might say is Pinellas County's false claims ordinance. It works in Miami-Dade to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, works in Broward County, and it wants to work in Pinellas County, but you all have to adopt a false claims ordinance. I recommend you just copy right to the last period Miami-Dade's, for it is almost a perfect ordinance, and it cooperates very well with the Florida false claims statute. Many of the actions that will be brought affect both entities, and if those two, the ordinance and the statute, cooperate, it gets through the courts easier. So look for the gravy train is going to be passing again through Pinellas County, and it won't stop for us because we don't have a stop sign. Other than that, you guys have a good day.
Thank you. Next, we have David Ballard-Geddes Jr., followed by Ellsworth Williams.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. David Ballard-Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Up until about 12 or 13 years ago, entering Fort DeSoto Park was free. Our tax money was good enough to support the park, and there was no entrance fee and no parking fee at the park. And just over a decade ago, due to some sort of apparent lack of funding in our ever-increasing tax base, the park, in addition to our existing and ever-growing tax base revenue of the county, the park started to charge an additional ad hoc fee to enter the park to enhance their revenue stream. In addition to the ever-growing tax dollars of the county, the gatekeeper at the park would now more so collect a few extra dollars as an ad hoc fee, again, taxing us, again, charging our liberties and freedoms for the opportunity to go to the beach of that which used to be free to enter. Now, in addition to the imposition of this ad hoc park fee, the park has just recently decided to change its fee method in the collection of its charges, and the park has now gone to a cashless system, disallowing cash money as an allowable form of currency to enter the park. The park no longer recognizes the validity of the U.S. cash money and its method of U.S. currency has been invalidated, disallowing a physical cash payment of $8 to enter the park. Fort DeSoto has invalidated the U.S. currency as a valid form of money. The United States currency is no longer accepted at the park. They have denied physical cash currency of the United States as a valid form of payment to a less than $10 park fee. So initially the park was free, then somehow our ever-growing tax money wasn't good enough to support the park, and now physical cash currency of the U.S. government isn't qualified enough to be used to enter the park. I think we have a problem there. Maybe what's no good in this country is not the money, but the self-evident manipulation of powers behind such incremental political undertakings that we see here. Maybe what's no good is the incremental interworkings of our government itself. Maybe what's no good is not the money, but what's printed on the money, stating debts both public and private. Maybe all debts, both public and private, is no good and not valid anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, next we have Ellsworth Williams, and then we go to Zoom. with David Belt. Good morning.
Good morning, County Commissioners, Chair. My name is Ellsworth Williams. I'm the CEO and President for Veterans Council and Veterans. Part of my team that you see, one that's passing out the flyers, she's actually a combat veteran and a nurse in Pinellas County. And then to my right of me is General Carol Nero, used to be the 3rd Medcom Commander, and she's a board member for Veterans Council and Veterans. Why I'm here today, Veterans Council and Veterans here to start becoming a resource for Pinellas County. One of the things I have known is that our aging veterans population is getting bigger and bigger. In fact, according to Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, we have over 719,000 veterans over age of 65 in the state and 68,000 over age 65 in Pinellas County. What are we doing to help these veterans as they get older? If you guys noticed a while ago, Junior Hackman, he died, and he died a sad way, and he's a veteran just due to dementia. What Veterans County Veterans want to do, we have a program called Serving Elderly Veterans, and we want to focus on referrals, advocacy, which is why I'm here right now, advocacy, collaboration, and counseling. What you see on the screen right here is part of our collaboration. Coming to Pinellas County at St. Pete College, we're going to have our Serving Elderly Veterans Conference. This conference is designed to bring all the assets together that provide resources to the veteran and their families and the veterans, giving them the opportunity to actually know what's out there for them in the community. You'd be surprised how many don't know what's really out there for them as they get older and older and older. My dad is 88 years old. He's 89 in a couple of months. And I've learned so much trying to take care of him for the last 4 or 5 years. Veterans Council Veterans, we have a team, and the team you see is going to be Christine to my left, Crecklin, Joan Nero, and myself to make sure that we get the word out. We need you to help get the word out as well. Help let the veterans in this county know that there is resources out there for them. There's help out there for them. And we're just not going to stop at that. We're going to start having support groups for these elderly veterans and their families. Families. If you strengthen the family, you strengthen the veteran. So I just want to make sure you guys know about this resource, and hopefully be an advocate for Veterans Council of Veterans so we continue to help our veterans and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Ellsworth, I just wanted to say thank you for serving on our Veterans Engagement Board over here in Pinellas. A great addition, so thank you for being there as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we go to Zoom. David Belt.
Hi, my name is David Belt. I live at 2377 Indigo Drive in unincorporated Pinellas in the Greenbrier community. So I wanted to address 3 different issues. One is on Virginia Avenue between Greenbrier Boulevard and CR1. The speed limit's currently 40 miles per hour. I would like to see this reduced to 35 or lower. It's 25 miles per hour on Greenbrier Boulevard. And then at Beltree, where it connects after CR1, it's 25 miles per hour. This is a single lane short strip of road. There's bike lanes on Greenbrier Boulevard and then part of the way up Virginia, but not the entire way. Same with sidewalks. There's an elementary school at the dead end with Greenbrier Boulevard, and then residential to the south, east, and west with the new Gladys Douglas Preserve to the north. By lowering the speed limit here, it would make it safer for cyclists, pedestrians, and then also possibly allow golf carts and low-speed vehicles access to the downtown Dunedin corridor, which the city of Dunedin is in support of based on my conversations with that Board of Commissioners and city engineer. This would also increase property values, thus your tax base. The second issue I would like to address is this issue. I serve on the Greenbrier Homeowners Association and would like to see stop signs along Indigo Drive on the north part to the north of Greenbrier, as well as stop signs on Scotland Drive, as these are major cut-through streets that there's high-speed traffic on regularly. Another thing that could be done to help alleviate some of this cut-through traffic would be opening up Bramblewood Drive North to Belcher, which would reduce that cut-through traffic and speeding on those other streets. That currently is a dead end there, that by adding about 30 feet of pavement, could significantly reduce cut-through traffic. Lastly, on this issue, I'd like to see reflective markers on the stop sign pole at Forest Drive and Greenbrier Boulevard to help improve the safety of our community and make that intersection more visible. And then the last issue I wanted to address, back again as an individual, the Dunedin Causeway launch area, with Sutherland Boat Ramp closing, Dunedin Marina closed, as well as their marina in the future will be closing to all non-Dunedin residents. It leaves people like myself who are surrounded by the city of Dunedin without easy
Thank you,
access.
David. Your time is up.
Okay.
He doesn't appear on the Zoom
Doesn't appear on
application
Zoom?
right now.
Okay. Oh, Jim, okay, okay. Okay, got it. All right, thank you for being here. Got it. So, you have to fill out a card, sir. You have to fill out a card, sir. I guess we'll give it a minute here. Okay, got it.
Thank you. Thing just went off. Hold on, sorry. Here it is. Can you please just state your name and your address? Kevin Aruda, 10761 105th Street, Lago. On the 10th, which was the 9th at 9:30, my neighbor's tree fell on my house. I resided at the address I've been there for 9 years. I put the house in my parents' name, and I've been living there. And my parents are older, and on that day, they were in the house with me because they couldn't stay where they live in their trailer park, which is right down the street. And they've been here for 25 years. My family's lived in Pinellas County for about 35 years. My aunt and a lot of my family has resided in the park over there. I can't think of the name right now because I'm trying to say so many things. The following morning on the news with Bacon, coincidentally, which was the 10th, showed somebody's tree on somebody's house, and it said that the neighbor was responsible at the end of the news segment. Well, first thing in the morning, I had said to my father, we better call the insurance company. And we did at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, or 10 past 10 it had to be, after the night of 8 holes in the roof and the 79-inch tree. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, yeah, here you go. I'm sorry, now I see too. On the house, there. You can't see the house behind the tree, but to the left is the neighbor's house. And if it would have fell 4 more feet over, it would have squished the whole front of the house. But it did go through the roof and sustain $160,000 of damages where I'm leading to. On Pinellas County, I'm just trying to regroup from where I left off of paying for what a little bit amount that citizens gave us was enough that I had to pay the mortgage off because it wasn't enough to fix the house on all the money of $160,000. I have a contract estimating me for fixing the house. So with doing that, I took out a small a loan to buy stuff and supplies for me to fix the house. I have other pictures in here of the destruction that it did. And my point being, I don't know with Pinellas County and what I'm hearing, why I'm here is maybe some supplement money for helping on hurricane relief is what I've been seeing. This is like the third or fourth, excuse me, the meeting. I'm actually handicapped, you can't tell. My legs are tore up down over here and I got metal on this side. And that's how it helped me obtaining the house. But at the time, I put the house in my father's name because he had better credit and I put a good down payment down on the house.
Thank you, sir. We do have grant programs that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully approving. And there will be some programs that will be available later this summer that that you may be able to apply for that might be helpful.
I could have one more minute.
We only have 3 minutes, sir, but we can have somebody meet you outside.
Staff is going to give you the website to where you can sign up to get all the information in the future as programs are launched.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. I'll fill the thing out.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes public comment. So now we're going to move on to public hearings. Item number 3.
Agenda item number 3 is case number CW 25-02. This is a proposal by the City of Tarpon Springs to amend the countywide plan map from employment to industrial regarding .375 acres, more or less, located at 249 and 251 Anclote Road, ANCLOTE. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received by the clerk. This matter is properly before the authority to be heard.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to see a presentation, or what's the thought of the board on this? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Eggers, a second by Commissioner Peters. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, if we could open up the voting, please. Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4.
Agenda item number 4 is an amendment by resolution supplementing the fiscal year 2025 budget, realigning reserves, and recognizing unanticipated fund balance and unanticipated revenue for requesting departments and constitutional offices. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received by the clerk, and this matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay, thank you. We have any discussion?
No questions.
No questions? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Flower, second by Commissioner Latvala. We could open up the voting, please. Passes unanimously. Item number 6.
Agenda item number 5 is a proposed resolution approving the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Action Plan and authorizes its submittal to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received by the clerk. This matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Spohr, you are up.
Good morning. Good morning, County Commission. Exciting day here in Pinellas County. 3 months ago, we had our first kickoff internally and with Horn. It was February 5th, and we've come a long way in a short period of time. So I'm going to go through a quick summary of what we've done. And Ryan Flannery is here with Horn, and Jenna Abbey. They've been great partners to work with the last 3 months, taught us a lot. So here's the schedule that you've been seeing for the last 3 months. I'm happy to report that we have stayed on schedule since February 6th, and we are due to submit our action plan to HUD later this month before June 1st, and will likely be one of the first entities to do so based off of the January 21st notification that came out. So we'll be one of the first entities. Maui might be the other one. So we're right up there with them. In the backup, I wanted to highlight what we've done in terms of communication. This is very important for HUD. They require a separate participation plan that we've been following since day one. You will actually have a approval on your May 20th Board of County Commission meeting to adopt the action plan that we've been following. You have a one-pager that was put together by our communications team. And if I could just highlight the engagement. We've had over 3,200 resident surveys. We've had over 44 businesses offer feedback and surveys on their unmet needs. 100% of the municipalities provided feedback and stakeholder meetings. They all attended and they all provided information for the county. We had nearly 200 residents attend our 3 in-person meetings. We've had over 75 comment cards directly from those meetings. We've had 13 media interviews. Chair, you've probably done all of them, which has seen major coverage from all of our regional television and print outlets, which has helped. We've distributed over 3,000 flyers in English and Spanish at libraries, community centers, direct home delivery to seniors through Meals on Wheels. We've distributed 500+ flyers in English and Spanish through code enforcement contractors working with substantially damaged homeowners. We have over 14,000 website page views. 500+ municipal and community partners received email blasts and/or attended webinars to discuss CDBG DR. 300+ people have signed up for email updates, and 2,000+ have subscribed for our text updates on recovery programs. So we're happy to report those numbers to you. We still have some meetings we'll talk about here in a second coming up. The last time we were in front of you was April 17th, and since that time, we've published the draft action plan on our website. That was April 23rd, and we held a North County public hearing on April 24th. I'm going to have Ryan come forward and discuss the 3 modifications to the action plan since your April 17th commission meeting.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Ryan Flannery with Horn. So based on some of both input from the commission as well as just our continuing reviews of the plan and making sure that everything's very tight and ready to go to HUD, we've made 3 modifications. A few other technical modifications didn't really rise to the level of where we felt like we needed to bring them to you all today, but wanted to just highlight a couple of things. The first is the concept of disaster relief payments. It's a new activity, and it's one that we want to make sure that we are really substantiating and justifying to HUD very well. So we actually incorporated some additional data related to evictions and foreclosures into our unmet needs analysis that we really do think helps support the idea of disaster relief payments going directly to individuals based on hardships they've experienced as a result of the hurricanes. So that's one modification. We've also made a language modification based on your recommendations, Commissioner Nowicki, with respect to the Home Buyer Assistance Program. We did add language that speaks to a disaster-related impact. We kept it open a bit now to be able to really clarify what that means in the program guidelines. It gives us enough flexibility, but we also understand that it was a good point and one that we want to acknowledge, and makes it also clear to HUD and to the public that there has to be some kind of a connection back other than at the programmatic level. And then the last sort of somewhat substantive change that we made was related to a non-federal match eligible activity. We originally have kind of gone back and forth on the idea of Elevate Florida and how that would interplay with the CDBG DR dollars. We did not have the eligible activity necessary to provide the match payments under this single-family housing rehabilitation reconstruction program, but we felt like if timing works out and if it's in the best interest of the residents and of the program, that we should have that there just in case if it can work, we can use it then. So we added the language to allow for that eligible activity with supporting language as to why we're doing that. Those are the 3 main modifications. As time goes on, there may be minor things here and there that might change, but these are the ones we felt like rose to the level of being able to share with you all today. Thank you.
Questions?
So next steps. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on one second, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner Flowers, then we'll go to Commissioner, who was it? Okay, Commissioner Latvala, and then.
Okay. Excellent job. Thank you so much, and I think we're doing a really good job in trying to communicate. But the gentleman that spoke a little bit earlier brought up something I had not even thought about. he made the statement that while he pays the bills and I guess paid for the down payment for the house and whatnot, the house is in his dad's name because of credit. And I know we have some individuals who they may be in the process of going through probate. So the ownership of the home may not yet be determined, or it could be some examples such as the gentleman spoke today. So, and I guess I'm just doing this for educational purposes because I think I already know the answer. But if someone is in that situation, the person whose name is on the deed is the person who has to make application for help.
If I can just start off by, we understand the complexities of all these programs. As part of the bid process, when we launch individual assistance type programs, case management's going to be key, to where they can go through with someone, look at their eligibility, and help them, guide them through that process. So we thought about that. That'll be part of that bid process when we launch these individual programs.
Okay. And that's, I just wanted to, because I had not even thought about that as we've been talking about this for quite some time. And sometimes things like that, happen. Unfortunately, when he said that, it just sent off little sparks saying, oh my gosh, he may be in a pickle because of, and if the person's incapacitated or not able to make decisions on their own and they have purview over their affairs, will that suffice? So just, like you said, you're going to have case management, and thank you for that. But all of those things now just started popping in my head when we're talking about a more senior population, persons that may be living in some of those areas where,
We're going to have to really highlight that quality
Right.
piece to these programs, because it's going to, we wouldn't expect someone to have to navigate all of the different programs and the federal requirements, and that case management, I think, is going to be key to helping people understand what they're eligible for, what we can and can't do.
right, and consistency in,
Right.
in how we get that out. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Labbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the Elevate Florida part that we're adding, is that going to be, we're still going to have to do 70% to the low and moderate income folks, right?
Correct. It would contribute to the amount, the overall amount. It's called the overall benefit that we have to meet, which is 70% of the entire award amount. So whatever funding we that went to a match scenario would either go to an LMI household or not. If it went to an LMI household, then that would contribute to the overall benefit match. If not, then it wouldn't. But that is a policy call that can be made in the future in terms of whether the match is only available, for example, to LMI households. So there's some policy decision making to be made on that. But what we did in the plan right now was make it generally just an option, where we didn't have that option before. So at least now we have the option, and then the policy of who actually receives it would come later, or how they would receive it.
Okay. And so since it's a match, we're not going to be sending this money to the state in hopes that they send it back to us?
Correct. So again, there's HMGP dollars, which is different than CDBG DR dollars. But we would work with the state if this is part of the policy. And to Ryan's point, we would address those LMI applicants. So let's say the last we checked with the state, they had 2,000 Elevate Florida applications. Roughly 500 of those would meet LMI based off of self-reported household income. So we would work with them on those. Keep in mind, our policies and programs will have different priorities than the state. The state's priority is multiple repetitive loss is what they call it. So they're looking at repetitive loss properties. So that's how they're prioritizing their Elevate money. So we're going to have to coordinate with them and say, okay, out of the ones you prioritized, where are the LMI? How many LMI are within those? And then we can work with those with this funding.
So since the hurricanes predominantly devastated the coastline, and I don't want to speak, in stereotypes, but a large portion of the people that got devastated, in generalities, are not in the 70% low and moderate income. What are we doing with the other 30% that doesn't have to go to the low and moderate income folks?
Yeah, so we will prioritize based off of, I'm gonna let Ryan.
Before they address that, you know, I think we're going to learn a lot when we open up these programs and we get applications in. For instance, in Treasure Island, we had a unverified estimate of 20% people meeting low to moderate income. Those are seniors that have owned their house for 50 years, so they're house rich, you know, if you sell, but not necessarily, but they're on Social Security, you know, or whatever. So I think we're going to learn how many people really are eligible when we go into see verified incomes and things like that. So this program, along with the other program, I think is going to be key on how do we get the most back for our residents. And that's what we're still trying to figure out on the other side, which is the mitigation money that we received that we have not brought to you because we're still trying to develop it through a plan. But go ahead.
And so within the plan, there we describe how much of each budget is intended to go towards LMI versus non-LMI within each program. So what we do have within the homeowner rehabilitation reconstruction program, we have a carve-out for non-LMI. Okay, so this would be for urgent need households that are up to 120% AMI right now, so the 81 to 120. And the why we did that was because we have a prioritization. Okay, so we have prioritization for the LMI budget, and that prioritization is based on several factors: age, if you are over the age of 65, if you have an age-dependent member of the household, somebody under 18 or over 65, if you have a disability, and if you're LMI. If you meet 3 of those, you're in priority 1. If you meet 2 of those, you're in priority 2. If you meet 1 of them, you're in priority 3. But they're all LMI. So what we decided to do was, recognizing that we do not want to, we recognize that there is a population that's non-LMI that still could use this assistance. They're not wealthy. They tapped into their savings. They scraped together whatever they could. So we recognize there's that population. So we carved out a budget specifically for that population that doesn't have the same prioritization criteria or anything like that. That is, I believe, first come, first served. So it's basically, that's an order of application. So there is an amount. So that's under the rehabilitation program. Same thing applies under the reimbursement program for people who have come out of pocket. They also have a bucket of funding available to them, a budget. And then, as the county administrator mentioned, there is also the infrastructure program, which we right now have, I don't even remember the exact proration, 10%? Yeah. 10% associated with LMI areas. So we're thinking that the infrastructure funding, by and large, can go to areas that may not be, entirely LMI. That can be, that can fluctuate as time goes on. But that's kind of what we're thinking with respect to the program. So there is thinking around and planning for, within the plan, planning for assisting non-LMI households while still ensuring that the vast majority of the funding, as HUD expects, is going to LMI households. We are over the 70% requirement right now.
I had that same question. Thank you for asking. Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Latvala. Yeah, just, again, every time we talk, this program, and we keep circling back, or at least I do in my mind, to our mobile home parks. And I'm just trying to get Barry and I talked earlier, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, about this. And I'm just trying to get a sense of how many parks are involved, what types of parks they are in terms of ownership, and the communication that we're having with each of those different kinds and different levels of, again, I don't know how many we're talking about. So I'd like to get a sense of what that is and what we're doing with each of them, because they're very different. Yeah. They're complicated on their own, but they're also different. So.
I was going to have Kevin go through some pieces later under the county administrator's report, but I think I'll have him come up now because there's been a lot of outreach that I don't think we've communicated with the commission with some of these mobile home parks, and there is more that needs to occur. But we also have some news that they've been working on for some time. So Kevin, go ahead.
And good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kevin McAndrew, Director of Building and Development Review Services. As Barry has indicated, we recognized as early in this recovery the significant outreach that would need to be provided to the mobile home communities. And we've met with 7 communities to date, starting on January 28th. We met with Crystal Bay Mobile Home Park, February 5th with the Seahorse Mobile Home Park, subsequently with Sun Retreat, Edgewater Pines, Grand Bay, Westwind, and most recently with Gateway on April 15th. These have been extremely well-attended meetings, as you can imagine. They've been standing room only. They've been 2 hours plus. We've taken as much time as necessary to start with an educational component, guidance on options to reassessment, explaining to them that the county is not looking to displace residents. Unfortunately, there was a sentiment and a lot of frustrations at these meetings where the residents were saying that they felt the county was targeting mobile home parks. And I can assure you that I messaged as clearly as I can that that is not the case, and that mobile home parks represent an important housing stock and option within Pinellas County. And I've reinforced this at every single meeting. What's been clear that's come out of these meetings is that we need to do more. And in fact, tomorrow we are starting our second round of community outreach meetings where we're meeting with Westwind community tomorrow at 3 p.m. We're going to bring a greater amount of resources with us to these meetings where we want to put an emphasis on making sure they understand all of their options as far as how to pursue a reassessment, whether again, depending on ownership, they've exercised the at no cost, the pre-storm building reconsideration through the property appraiser's office. That's referred to as the BVR option. We want to make sure that if they haven't pursued an ACV appraisal, that is a mechanism to pursue within the reassessment. We want them to understand that the county has extended the compliance until June 1st of 2026. This is going to give more time. This is going to allow what plays out through the discussion that's occurring right now on the CDBG-DR funding as to whether there's options that will be provided to them, again, to give a clear path forward. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. When I pick up my discussion, I'll speak to some of the adaptive flexibilities that our team has put in place, but kind of tying into this discussion right here, we're starting that second round tomorrow. We're going to continue it, and we're going to go back to these communities as often as we need to.
Kevin, key to this, and it's important when we're talking about the CDBG-DR, is the work that Lisa and the guidance Lisa received regarding substantial damage of the mobile home parks, the new guidance. So
sure,
if you can outline that for the commissioners.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So and while these meetings, like I said, were incredibly emotionally charged, I'm pleased to say that there's been some constructive feedback that we welcomed right from the outset that guided our adaptive and flexible approach while maintaining compliance. And I want to say this clearly, with minimum standards. Everything that we're doing is complying with minimum standards. These are not higher standards as far as substantial damage. These are minimum standards. And one of the common themes was, particularly in the later parks that did not sustain the degree of water inundation and damage as some of the other mobile home communities, was I had zero water in my unit. I only lost my mechanical equipment outside, my hot water heater, my AC condenser, and so forth. And I only had damage in what's called the belly board or the undercarriage. And our team, we put our heads together and we identified about 25% of all of the mobile homes that were subject to the substantial damage assessment, about 300 units. And we identified 300 that we were going to go back and revisit a remodel to see if we could look at that and find a way to rerun that model and see if we could make that reversal. Concurrent with this, what Barry is alluding to, I want to recognize our floodplain administrator, Lisa Foster. She went way beyond, and concurrent with this other flexibility I just referenced, she navigated a collaborative discussion and favorable interpretation from FEMA that allowed us to pull a considerable number of units right out of the substantial damage assessment and can push them right into the permitting side, which is a requirement. So this was really, really well done. That again, not only does it have benefit in this current process, but going forward will really, really streamline if we ever have to navigate anything like this in the future. In total, between these two flexibilities, 175 units were reversed and or taken out of the substantial damage pool, which is 15% of the entire number that were analyzed. So this was really important update. And like I said, I'm pleased to say that this was initiated from the constructive feedback we got from these communities. We just needed to hear it, and we put our heads together as to figuring out, how we could bring some relief and assistance.
And Commissioners, that guidance that we received was just received last Thursday, I believe?
Yes.
Or Friday, or Thursday. And so that's the reason I wanted them to speak to this under the DR program is because it's going to make a big difference in the funding available. Now, if we can repair units, we can help those reimburse our mobile homes those costs. One, the disruption goes away and then two, it'll free up dollars that we can then use for the rest of the remaining DR programs. So pretty significant movement there regarding our mobile home communities.
Has that 15% been communicated with? Do they know that?
It's been incremental on a daily basis as we complete this exercise. But yes, we have been communicating that. As soon as we know those results are final, they're communicated.
Kevin, again, you've probably provided this for us, but if you don't mind doing it again, it doesn't have to be now. I'm just trying to get a sense of perspective here on the number of parks that we're talking about and the number of units that we're talking about under different kinds of ownerships. So I have to have a feel for the size of this challenge that we're talking about. I'm sure it's there. So, yes, no?
It's there. The number of parks that were identified and then evaluated was either 12 or 13. However, I want to immediately clarify that the greatest percentage of the 1,300 or so units that were subject to the substantial damage assessment occurred within the 7 communities that we've met with. So there's been a couple of outliers, a couple of parks, my notes are not in front of me here, where there may have been a handful of units that had to be evaluated. So like I said, we've focused on the parks that were most impacted, but particularly fell into this category where we knew there were units that were not destroyed, that there were units that residents are still living in, and there was a lot of frustration as to we're in our units, we're living in them, how can they be substantially damaged? So this is where our focus has been, the greatest focus has been to bring relief through different processes to see if possible where they could be reversed.
And of those 7 communities, how many of them are individually,
I
owned by
believe it's
one
three.
owner?
I believe it's three ownership. Ownership is, again, is either in the form of fee title or cooperative. I know Westwind, Seahorse, and Crystal Bay are ownership parks. Sun Retreat, Grand Bay, there's several others. Edgewater Pines, those are owned where by a corporation, where the unit owners are leasing the dirt.
So the only asset they have is the unit themselves.
That's correct.
But in the other ones where they own part of the park, does the value of that come into play for the ownership of their unit?
No, just like consistency with single-family homes, the value of the land does not come into play when you're dealing with the just value of the structure. Substantial damage is just the structure, has nothing to do with the land itself or any improvements.
Yeah, I get it, but this is very different because the ownership of that property owner is more than a devalued piece of a mobile unit itself. Whereas in single-family homes, there is at least a consistent or appreciating value of that home over time. It's not like these mobile homes. I just find that maybe there's nothing we can do about it now and it's beyond it, but I tell you, it's significant. And I'm not sure how that should factor in when we have these owners that have basically very little value left in their unit. Market value. I mean, market value is different than actual value. You know.
Absolutely correct, and this is why we want to make sure that as we're really looking over the next couple of weeks to close out the reassessment, that they've exercised every option. Like I said, either the BVR at no cost through the property appraiser's office or through the actual cash value appraisal, because it's through those two mechanisms that the value can offset the depreciation, which has been, the biggest driver of what is so challenging with mobile homes. I mean, the reality is that the greatest percentage of mobile homes in this county are pre-1984, many from the 70s, some from the 60s. We knew this from the outset, we're dealing with an incredibly challenging exercise here. The piece, once a homeowner works through the reassessment, if they remain substantially damaged, they have the option to pursue the appeal through the clerk's office, and we will be educating them as we meet with them on this second round of meetings starting tomorrow, again, which would be their final option to pursue a reversal.
Thank you for now, Kevin.
Kevin, quick question. So if I heard you right, there was a total of about 1,300 individual units in those 7 parks?
Oh, in all of the parks.
All of the parks,
Yes.
all 12 or 13 of them, okay. Do you have any sense in the final analysis here about how many of them will be reversed?
So in total, it's a point in time, of course, because we still have about 150 that are in review as far as mobile homes through the reassessment. But as a point in time, largely driven by, again, this 175 units that were reversed, we have 480 of that 1286 that are not substantial, which represents about 37%. That number, I have to say, is considerably more favorable than where we were when we started and where we anticipated to be. So the numbers on the mobile home parks through flexibilities and adaptability are more favorable. Now, I want to be careful in setting expectations. We don't anticipate those that are in the reassessment, we're not going to see that same percentage reversing. I mean, this has been an exercise where we are giving homeowners every last opportunity, 2 reviews, 3 reviews, of providing new evidence that we can intake and review before there's a final determination. That window is closing. We're going to meet again with these communities, but we do need to find our way through this exercise this month. And for those that are substantial damage, again, they have that option to pursue the appeal.
One final quick question. Did you say the compliance period was extended through June 1 or June 30th of next year?
June 1 to 2026.
Any other questions for Kevin? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
So next steps with CDBG-DR, we're back. We have 2 virtual public hearings remaining. We are hopeful that the action plan will be submitted to HUD by the end of this month. And so we would anticipate their approval by mid-July, possibly sooner, and execute grant agreements sometime in July or August. And we would then be done with phase 1 and phase 2 of the process, and we would start phase 3, which is our program implementation. So that would happen in the fall of 2025, so we have a very busy summer ahead of us. And now to the question slide.
Any other questions?
Sorry. And I'm sorry if this is a Kevin thing, and maybe I'm just, I'm fixating on this mobile home park stuff, and are we finding that parks that are individually owned by corporations, not by individual residents, are going to be staying around? Are we having to, even though some percentage of those homes may be okay, maybe newly established as not substantially damaged, but they're in a floodplain, are we finding people wanting to stay in the business as far as mobile home park owners? Or is that something that we're still uncovering?
I think it's going to be very site-specific, and I think there's going to be areas where we need to look and whether or not that park should remain based upon floodplain and everything else, and there's others where we probably want to work with them. But that's going to be part of the application process that I think is going to come at a later time. Maybe, Ryan, you can speak. You've done this in many other places. We're not the only ones that have mobile home parks. Maybe you can speak to what your experience is.
Yeah, I think what is unique are how many parks are corporate owned here in Pinellas County. Many of the places that we've worked really were either privately owned or on their own land. They just own land and they had a park in more rural areas. So what we recognize there are a lot of questions, and we recognize this is a significant issue and one that we want to find a way to address, which is why we added that program, the relocation and revitalization program. We budgeted $10 million to it for now. We could modify that budget, and we have some flexibility where we wouldn't have to go back to HUD for it if we felt like that was a viable pathway. But part of that program design will be to get at all the questions that you're asking, which are great questions. What's the corporate structure? What's the ownership type? Is there an interest in you remaining, and continuing on? If you had some assistance, would that sort of tilt your decision-making one way or the other? Because there are instances where we can provide assistance directly to the owner of a mobile home park, manufactured home park, and that would be cheaper and more cost-effective than trying to elevate every single one of those homes, especially if they don't own, as you said, they don't own the land, so they only own that depreciating asset, that depreciating MHU. And so we felt like this program is intended to, we don't have all the answers right now, but it's intended to help us get to those answers and figure out what is the best path forward with each of these if they want to participate, and kind of take it from there. But that we have thought about that.
And I think they are very individual. I mean, every park is unique. I know there's one I'm thinking about in Palm Harbor where it is essentially a condominium ownership of the land.
Right.
And so all those residents own a piece of that, and it's in a floodplain, and a lot of their homes did suffer damage. So that's going to be a particular strategy and discussion versus, you know.
I think each one of those are, Commissioner, because there's others where if you took out some units, the rest of the park would be fine. It's at a higher elevation even. It also becomes problematic when the park owners, because if we did an elevated structure, the only thing the individual would own would be the structure on top, not the elevated piece. That's an engineered foundation, and that would go to the park. So it gets really complicated. That's the reason they've tried to set up these guidelines. We're going to have to figure this out, but it's going to be really site-specific that we're going to have to kind of work through.
But at least you're getting the message that that's an important housing stock in our county, and we want to try to preserve as much as we can.
Yes.
And I know it's going to be complicated, and it's going to be very unique, but, you know, anyway, thank you.
Point.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we do have one member of the public that would like to speak on this. David Ballard Geddes Jr.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. I do have some questions about the recent hurricane season that we've just had, and the idea of weather modifications. I believe that Hurricane Helene was a product of a weather modification operation. I frequently bring a book before the board here. It's Maloney's Water Code that was published in 1972. Chapter 6 of that book, the largest chapter in that book, is devoted to weather modification operations. So should that be the case, and this book, Maloney's Water Code, is used to base 373 of the Florida State Statutes. So the book, in a sense, is a very important book politically. If so, that weather modification recognition in that book, should that be the case for the hurricane season that we've just had? Hurricane Helene wasn't just a hurricane, but Hurricane Helene was a war effort intended to ravage the coast. The Declaration of Independence clearly states to ravage the coasts. So when in the course of human events, if this process of such was set in place a long time ago, we have something here that's going on a little bit bigger than what's being talked about. The county engaged in a relief effort here. Really isn't much of a relief effort as it really is as an appeasement effort disguised as a relief effort. This appeasement effort will ultimately is intended to kind of limp along the homeowners to an ultimate foreclosure of their properties. So I don't want us to confuse what's viewed as a relief effort here as really it's nothing more than just an appeasement effort disguised as a relief effort. In my mind, we have a bigger issue going on here. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, David. Okay, with that, do we have any further discussion? We have
So this is just the
20th.
public hearing? Yeah, this is just the public hearing,
this is
so
public hearing,
I'd,
okay.
So we're taking the action at the next meeting?
I don't believe this is just the public hearing, so there's no action today.
We're asking for approval today. We're asking approval today of the resolution and granting any non-substantial changes to be made by the county administrator, and then granting the chair to execute any agreement with HUD that is going to come later this summer. So that's what we're asking you to do today.
What's on the 20th then?
The 20th is the public participation plan. So we have you all are aware, we have a citizen engagement plan that you've approved. We also have a CDBG public participation plan. Well, HUD requires a separate CDBG DR public participation plan. So it's totally separate than the action plan. We've known about it since day one, and we've followed it. The goal was to have it the same day as this, but because of some advertising requirements and whatnot, it will be at your May 20th meeting. But this is more important, so that's why we made sure this came first.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Matt. All right, well, do we have a motion to? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Egger, second from Commissioner Flowers. Any further discussion? All right, we can bring up the voting, please. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. Good discussion.
All right, good job, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So next we have consent, items 6 through 9. Would anybody like to pull anything from consent? Okay, I think that was a motion from Commissioner Peters, a second from Commissioner Latvala. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. On to item number 10.
Item 10 is a project application to the Federal Aviation Administration for the pre-construction design services for their terminal improvements at the St. Pete Clearwater International Airport.
Okay. All right, motion from Commissioner Peters, second from Commissioner Flowers. Any further discussion? Okay, if we could open up the voting, please. Passes unanimously. Item number 11.
This MSTU for Palm Harbor Little League Safety Netting Project.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Peters. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, if we could open up the voting. Passes unanimously. Item number 12.
This is the approval of the service lighting agreement with Duke Energy for the downtown Palm Harbor Street Lighting District that we previously discussed.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Peters, second by Commissioner Eggers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if we can open up the voting. Passes unanimously. Item number 13.
It's a resolution approving the use of TDC funds for the capital improvements for Clearwater Beach Municipal Marina. This is needed to specifically have a legislative finding that the marina is needed to increase tourism-related business activities. Right.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Latvala, second by Commissioner Flowers. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, if we can open the voting. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item number 14.
It's a historic preservation ad valorem tax exemption for a property in City of St. Petersburg.
Okay. Will the board? Motion by Commissioner Nowicki, second by Commissioner Flowers. Okay, any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Could open up the voting. Dave? Did you hit your button? No. All right, pass unanimously. Item number 15.
Award of a bid for Indian Rocks Road Phase 2, Kent Drive to 8th Street, sidewalk and drainage improvements, $5.6 million.
Okay, Kent Drive to 8th Street. Okay, good. Motion by Commissioner Peters, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if we can open up the voting. Passes unanimously. Item number 16.
A hazard mitigation grant application to Florida Department of Emergency Management for the replacement of span wire supported traffic signals and modifications to the control cabinets to mitigate storm impacts.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Peters, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any discussion? Hearing none, if we can open up the voting. Passed unanimously. Item number 17.
Resolution adopting the updated utilities policy manual.
Okay.
Move approval, but I just have a few questions.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Nowicki, second by Commissioner Eggers. Okay, questions?
And Jeremy's on his way up.
Okay, all right. Morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, Jeremy Walls, Utilities Director.
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks for all your hard work on this. I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding, the new guy here. Does one of these new policies that would be approving, would that prohibit the permanent service removal unless a property is being demolished for reclaimed water?
I guess I'll ask you to elaborate the question. So permanent service removal unless we are demolishing the property.
Right, so like a resident can't contact the county and say, hey, I don't want reclaimed water anymore. Can you stop charging me?
Yes, you are allowed to disconnect service, but we disconnect the meter at that point. So you can't turn on and turn off your reclaim service without a service charge to come back and reconnect.
Okay, because the manual says that will only, remove or turn off service line when a property is being demolished. So I just wanted to make sure that residents, if they choose, can still turn off service to reclaimed water, even if they're not having their property demolished.
Yes, if that's stated that way in the manual, that we could revise that language. That's not how it was applied. Yeah, so there's also a service connection is the line from the pipe to the house or to the meter. So we can, if you disconnect service, we will remove the meter, but the line will stay. But we will not remove the line to the house unless you're demolishing the house. And really where this comes into play is when people are redeveloping, rebuilding a property. But we get pretty frequent requests for, let's say, a seasonal resident who wants to turn on and off their service, or people that want to disconnect and not receive the monthly connection fee charge based on the availability of the water. So in order to disconnect and reconnect, we actually visit the property and send people out there. So there's charges involved. It's not just a phone call and we turn off the account.
Okay, but they'd still be able to do that with these new adoptions?
Yes.
Okay.
So it just begs the question, right now let's say we don't have meters, right? We haven't had meters on our reclaimed for a long time.
Correct.
Right,
Today, we do have meters.
We do now. So if you remove that meter because they don't want service anymore, this sounds really stupid, but how does that keep them from getting reclaimed water?
There still will be charged the availability fee for the pipe that's in front of their house for the 30-year period from when we started the construction.
Right.
So they'll still be charged that, but they won't be charged the
But what keeps them?
They'll disconnect.
How do you
the pipe.
disconnect the actual product from getting to their house?
We will take the meter out of the ground.
That keeps the water from flowing.
Cap the pipe, yes.
Okay, cap the pipe. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. I knew it was that simple, but, I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah.
Because we don't have them now, so, we didn't have them, and boy, it just flowed, right?
So now we can actually disconnect.
cap it off.
There's a valve, and we would turn off the valve and lock the meter.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. If we could open up the voting, please. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 18.
This resolution is for the updated enforcement response plan for the Utilities Industrial Pretreatment Program.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Eggers. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Peters. Any discussion? Okay, we could open up the voting. Passes unanimously. Item number 19.
This is a third amendment to an agreement for the professional engineering and design services for the mobile home communities wastewater collection system funded by the Restore Act. The third amendment increases the contract by $334,000. The amendment is for additional scope of services in the construction phase.
Okay. Any questions, thoughts, motions? Boy, don't all speak up at once. Motion by Commissioner Flowers. We have a second? Second by Commissioner Peters. Any discussion? Okay, if we can open up voting. Passes unanimously. Thank you. County Attorney.
We have no report.
No reports. Wow. All right. County Administrator.
While Kevin's coming up to provide any additional, do you have any additional reports, Kevin? Yeah. I wanted to give, we kind of hit on the mobile home communities, but we'll give you an update on where we're at with substantial damage and the rest of our reports. Well, he's coming up, though. I think the chair mentioned last Thursday, we had a very productive meeting with Tampa International. I think that was a good, we are also following up all the discussion items that you had at our Tri-County meeting, which was well attended, and I think a very good open discussion amongst the three sets of county commissioners on items that are of regional significance to us. So we're following up on that, and when as county administrators, we're going to be meeting and discussing those. And then finally, I just remind the commission, we're in knee-deep meetings with all of our departments, our constitutional officers, and our appointing authorities over budget. Obviously, there's all facing challenges with just simply increased cost and things like that, so we're working through that in anticipation of the budget information sessions that you will have coming up here in June. So with that, I'll let Kevin in my portion of the report. Okay.
Thank you. Just a few more items to share with the board. And I did get some additional data on mobile homes. I think just to understand the entire sort of universe of mobile homes within Pinellas County. This would, of course, include parks outside of a floodplain, but just to understand the magnitude, we have 125 parks in unincorporated county, approximately 16,000 units. So the 1,300 that were subject to the substantial damage assessment represents about 8% of the total inventory of mobile homes within Pinellas County, of which 5% are substantially damaged. Again, that is not minimizing at all the impact to those that have a substantial damage, but I think it's helpful to understand just sort of the entire inventory of what we have here in the county. Just a very brief update on the single-family homes. We're very close to actually closing out the substantial damage reassessments, where we only have close to 50 that are still in review. Again, order of magnitude, we had about 3,300 that were subject to the substantial damage assessment. We started out with 446, getting that initial substantial damage determination. To give a sense, the reassessment has reversed 216. Comparatively speaking, with mobile homes, the reassessment has reversed only 16. And this is because of the value of the structures with single-family homes, where the cost to repair through a detailed itemized cost review was able to demonstrate below the 49%, and the depreciation on a single-family home, there's nothing, there's no comparison between effectively a vehicle and a permanent structure. So the reassessment has been extremely effective on the single-family homes. To date, there's been 48 with the final determination from the floodplain administrator. We do anticipate some of those moving into the appeals. To date, we've only had 2 initiate the appeal process. Both of those have been withdrawn, not unexpected. They're representing that there's new evidence that needs to be considered that pushes them back into the reassessment. One of the boundaries of the appeal process through the special magistrate is that there's no new evidence to be presented. It has to be based on exactly what was reviewed and a final determination by the floodplain administrator. We're going to see activity through the appeals process, though, picking up now in the next few weeks. The last piece that I want to address is compliance and permitting. I'm happy to share that and pleased to share that we've issued storm repair permits. As of yesterday, 4,150 storm repair permits. That's very encouraging, specific to single-family homes and condominiums. I'd have to back out of that permits that we've issued for our +7 communities. But when that's done, we still are looking at a high percentage of homes that were required to get permitting come into our office. They were incentivized with no fees. Thank you to the board for waiving fees. The in-person support, the extended hours, I believe all of these in aggregate contributed to incentivizing and issuing that number of permits. So it's been, I believe, a successful response, particularly on single-family homes and condominiums. We do have another chapter with mobile homes, and this is really where I wanted to finish up, and that is we're obligated to ensure that any work performed in a floodplain gets a permit. And the complexities and the nuances with mobile homes, again, differentiating is that the coach itself is not regulated by the Florida Building Code, where a carport would be. However, the vast majority of repairs have already been performed. They've taken place inside the units themselves. All of that work is required to be permitted through a construction in a floodplain. We have another chapter, as I just referenced, that I envision, and we're putting the framework in place, where we're going to go on site to each of these parks, and we'll coordinate it with management, where we can have the residents, right there on the spot, process that permit for a construction in a floodplain, because FEMA will be auditing the county, whether it be a year or 15 months from now, and we are obligated to show compliance with permitting. And this is something that, again, we don't want to make this any more difficult than it needs to be. We're going to go to the parks. This will probably be the third round. We'll go to the parks, and we'll look to accommodate the residents in facilitating the issuance of those permits.
I appreciate very much that you taking the time to do another round with these parks and give them the attention they need. It is kind of the last point of pain, but it's a significant point for these folks. So I really appreciate you taking the effort to do that. Any questions, Kevin? Others? No? All right, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. All right, where were we here? Is that it, Barry? That's it. Okay. All right, so now we'll go up to County Commission new business. All right, Commissioner Latvala, why don't we start with you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Since we last met, I participated in a beach nourishment and transportation roundtable with Mayor Rector and Congressman David Rouser from North Carolina. I actually was there in your stead, so thank you for asking me to take your place. While others that were there were some business leaders from Clearwater and surrounding municipalities, a few mayors and Congressman Rector. Some folks that were there were focusing on traffic issues on Gulf to Bay. I was focusing on trying to get sand on our beaches. And one of our business leaders mentioned who has some tourism-based businesses that involve people eating. He mentioned he mentioned that the day that we do not have traffic on Gulf to Bay will be the day that he goes out of business, and that he likes traffic because that means the sun is shining and people are heading to the beach.
And they're stuck in traffic, and they're looking at his sign.
Yeah, which I concurred with, and I told the congressman that. So, but the congressman is the chair of a subcommittee dealing with transportation previously. He was on a chair of a subcommittee dealing with coastal issues, and he represents a coastal area of North Carolina. And he was very instrumental in the last WRDA bill. So he brought one of his staff people from the committee there taking notes. So that was very good. I attended one of the best events of the year, and that was the CFY banquet on the beach. Very good seafood was had. This past Saturday, I attended the Lift Your Spirits Kentucky Derby Gala, benefiting Lift Academy. I also presented a proclamation at the Nitram Masonic Lodge 188 in St. Petersburg in honor of their 100th anniversary. Yesterday, I attended the retirement party for Judge Jaraka, and I wanted to wish him well in his upcoming retirement. He has served Pinellas County and the Sixth Circuit with distinction the last 20 years. That is the end of my report. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Peters.
Thank you. I had the wonderful opportunity to tour Draper Technologies and see how they make the incredible tiny little microchips that go in rockets and the Titan subs and so forth. So
So you met with a rocket scientist.
it was really interesting. And they have a clean factory, so somewhere we've got some really great pictures of us where you can only see our eyes. But it was very interesting. And then I also spoke at the Economic Development for Defense networking event. Also, I had the wonderful opportunity to talk to a bunch of Girl Scouts. I look forward to that when they invite me to speak to them. And Commissioner Nowicki and I were at the Vietnamese 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War, and we have a lot of very proud Vietnamese American citizens, and it was a lovely, really lovely event. It was really well done. So, yeah, I think that's enough for now. Thanks.
It is a very nice event. I was out of town this year, unfortunately not able to make it, but it is very nice event, and we do have a very proud Vietnamese community. So. Commissioner Nowicki.
Thank you, Chair. I was talked briefly with Senator Scott's office to see if there's anything else they can do to help encourage the Army Corps with making their announcement, hopefully the end of this week, and a path forward for us. So I think we may have some good movement there, and appreciate his staff, reaching out to the Army Corps again to make sure, squeaky wheel gets the attention. So we pray and hope. I attended the James Museum where I read victims of the Holocaust tragedy. I attended the Palm Harbor Library with Commissioner Eggers for their summer preview session. Again, with Commissioner Peters at the Wounded Warrior Ranch, which is a great, that was my first time being on the ranch, and so I thought that was nice with the proud Vietnamese community. I did tour All About Puppies. They reached out to me and just wanted to, see my thoughts on, what they were doing. And I believe it's important to meet with anybody or tour any business in our community when somebody reaches out. So that's an open door to me to meet and talk with anybody. I did go over to Hillsborough to their Veterans Center last week to honor the fall of Saigon, which was last Wednesday, and saw a lot of our colleagues across the bay twice last week. So that doesn't happen often, but they have a beautiful Veterans Center over there and a nice trail on the river and a nice park. So great job what they do for all their veterans. Then shipped back over here to the Employee Appreciation Picnic, and to everyone that volunteered and helped set that up. And Commissioner Eggers and Commissioner Peters were scooping pulled pork and burgers. So hats off to them and all the staff that was working really hard to coordinate that. I did suggest to Barry maybe we could do 2 of those a year. I just thought it was a great event. Attended the Tri-County meeting with most of you on Friday, and I'm looking forward to the Besties event from Visit St. Pete Clearwater on Thursday, which is coming up. And then also I have a ceremony and celebration of life for my good friend, Lieutenant Colonel Bill Henderson at Bay Pines on Friday morning. So appreciate everyone's thoughts and prayers to his family. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yes, I had, of course, a wonderful time with Commissioner Latvala at the CFY fundraising event. They raised over $150,000. That doesn't include what they were able to raise for the silent auction. So I thought it was a really nice event, and it always goes to support our youth. So thank you, Commissioner. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Nowicki was there as well. Please forgive me. I attended the Habitat for Humanity home dedication, dedicating 10 townhomes. Typically, Habitat does single-family homes, but they're venturing into townhomes because land is limited. So I attended that dedication. The name of those townhome projects are called Shell Dash, and it just so happens to be diagonally across the street from my church. So I had a chance to meet the families who got their keys on that day, and so that's why I wasn't at the picnic, because I was attending some of the home dedications on that day. But super kudos, as always, to Habitat for Humanity and its team. I attended the Florida Orchestra event Sunday featuring Cynthia Erivo. If any of you, still watch some of the kiddie movies and whatnot. She is a opera singer, but she also is an actor. She played Harriet Tubman in the movie, Harriet Tubman and some others, but she was absolutely wonderful. I thought she did a very good job. I'm gonna give a special shout out to my daughter, Kaisha, who is the Office for Workforce Management Director with Pinellas Technical College. She received an award from the Gathering of Women as a upcoming and rising leader in the community. So I'm taking that little personal point. She'll probably be embarrassed because I did that. I will be attending St. Pete Collegiate High School graduation on this Friday. So to all of the graduates, you did it, you made it. So congratulations to you all, and for those who are graduating from college, congratulations. Our very own Darlena Herring's granddaughter graduated with her doctorate from FAMU. In nursing. So congratulations to her. That was a wonderful feat. And to all of the individuals who went to prom, I haven't gotten one report about an incident or someone losing their life after having attended prom. Sometimes we kind of get those reports that are really sad, where there's an auto accident or something of that nature. I haven't read one. I've been looking. So I am so thankful and grateful for some of the safety tips that have been going out from the various law enforcement divisions, as well as Pinellas County Schools and some of the private schools. So thank you, students, for doing a good job in staying safe. Thank you to the St. Pete Chamber for hosting, they will be hosting what's called Pitch Night at Black Leaf Wine and Cigar Bar tonight. That is where small businesses or entrepreneurs have an opportunity to pitch their business idea. And depending on where they fall, they receive some startup funds for that. So congratulations on having that this evening. I hope I can stop by and support. I'll be attending the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Prayer Breakfast. That will be held Saturday at the Coliseum. The funds that are raised from this go towards scholarships for youth in the community. Thank you so much to all who recognized the National Day of Prayer on last Friday. 7 by 7 is an organization that has been around for a number of years. Mount Zion Progressive typically leads that. My church, Greater Mount Zion, and me and several other churches are involved. But this year they had the event at Eckerd College. Normally it's held at Gibbs High School, and it's really large, but it's an opportunity for persons of all denominations to come together and pray. So thank you to the president and staff of Eckerd College for allowing them to use that facility, and thank you to our leadership when it comes to persons who worship. Just a reminder, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council will have our annual Resiliency and Sustainability Conference in Palmetto, May 14th through the 16th. So if you desire to attend, please do so. We won an award one year. Pinellas County won an award one year for our resiliency effort. So if you can make it, please try to stop by. I will be attending the NACO Justice and Public Safety Steering Committee meeting on tomorrow. There are a lot of bills that are moving through Washington, D.C. D.C. is very interesting, just like Tallahassee is very interesting right now. And so I'll be attending that meeting, and hopefully we'll have some good news when it comes to funding for public safety for our county. If you like trees, or if you lost trees during the storm and you want to replant, there will be a mulberry tree giveaway from the St. Pete Youth Farm. Super kudos to Carla Bristol, who is the head of the St. Pete Youth Farm that is run by students from within the county. The address is 1664 12th Street South. And if you want to go online to reserve your mulberry tree, it's all lowercase, stpeteyouthfarm.org/mulberry. I have been attending the legislative updates for the state of Florida. We have those every Friday with the Florida Association of Counties. Of course, our state legislators went into an extended session. Overtime, as they call it. If I'm not mistaken, they returned today. And so let's just kind of hope they go ahead and seal a budget and call it a day and don't stay much longer. I'm hoping that happens. I had the opportunity to serve as one of the speakers at a housing conference that was held at the Pinellas Realtor Organization, which they changed their name. And I'm sorry, I didn't write down their new name, Gulf something another. But anyway, they've changed their name, but I still call it the PRO. But it was wonderful. Persons from our housing department were also there just to talk about the housing needs, of course, throughout Pinellas County and surrounding communities. I was very happy to see that initially the LIHEAP funds, which is the Low Income Housing Energy Program, those funds were frozen, but I was so excited to see now that the $400 million has been released. We have a lot of seniors that receive services as a result of those LIHEAP funds, which are administered through Pinellas Opportunity Council, Pinellas County Urban League, and other areas. They provide fans during the summer months for individuals who may not have cooling systems, but certainly need that. And they provide other energy assistance to include assisting them in helping to pay their bill. And that's it, I believe. I tried to write everything down this time. Yep, that's it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner Eggers.
All right. I'll try to be quick on a few things here.
See what?
No, I wasn't cracking on anybody. No, I just got a list of like a bunch of here.
But we'll
and I don't-
crack on him.
I don't want to be here, till noon, so I'll try to be as fast as I can. I really want to thank staff and our animal shelter for the pet store update. I thought they reached out to the community really well. Still a lot of issues, but they'll be bringing a plan forward, so I really appreciate that effort. I also attended the Holocaust reading, and just amazing introspective time when you're there and you actually see names and the ages that go along with those names. But it was really profound. I also attended the Palm Harbor Library Summer Reading Preview, and it was good. Community gathering to talk a little bit about everything that's going on in the library, including their efforts for June and the Gay Pride Month and what they're going to be doing there. So everybody could see what was actually going to be in play. Obviously, nothing in the children's library, which I was, obviously very happy to see. I wanted to thank Kelly Levy for meeting with me to talk about a neighborhood that's experiencing a lot of flooding issues. Ralph Hoffman from his neighborhood over in Eastlake asked me out to there to walk the neighborhood. It's interesting to see public facilities and private facilities interdependent, needing to work together to make it work. And where there are breakdowns and our staff having to get onto private property, talking to people's private property efforts to make this flood attenuation program work right. It's very complicated, but I did get a chance to get out there, and we have those in many places around the county, but I really appreciated Kelly kind of helping me before I went out, but also looking at the neighborhood afterwards, so appreciate that. I went out to Ovis, which is the basically HOA for Ozona and had their annual meeting and inducted the new volunteers there, which was always good, and a lot of discussion about countywide issues relating to their area, but greater than that. And they had a lot of questions, which was always fun. Went out to the airport to celebrate liquid provisions and Sightline Gallery. Our Creative Pinellas folks had led an effort of local artists, and it's really cool what they did out there. And looking forward to our discussion with the airport on future plans out there. So lots of good stuff. Again, I was just very proud to be at the Employee Appreciation Lunch and thank our incredible employees for not the normal work that they do, but also the above and beyond that they've done with the storms. Also wanted to thank Kelly again for the Cobb's Landing tree removal issues that are going on and the one-on-one communication that they've been having to the extent that they're actually getting some creative ideas from us and from the residents to save more trees. So I just really appreciate that hands-on treatment. Tampa Bay Water had a great exploration ribbon cutting down in St. Petersburg yesterday, and the CEO of Great Exploration School, Angeline Howell, made a few comments. Our vice chair for Tampa Bay Water, Lisa Hanowitz, made a few comments. But just amazing exhibits that have been put together that talks about where water comes from and how we treat it and how we deliver it to our residents. Just really a neat thing, and Tampa Bay Water and its board have been giving funding each year to make that a reality. So really good stuff. Later on today, I'm going to be at the Oldsmar Library site groundbreaking ceremony for more housing, townhomes out there that is very much needed in that area. So I'm really excited about that groundbreaking effort. Ford Pinellas has a workshop this Friday, talk about budget review, reserves, unassigned balances, millages, regional merger, gateway marketing plan. A lot of things going on there, talking about maybe even getting an Orlando trip together to go over and talk a little bit more about the merger that they went through and the pluses and minuses. So working through some things there as well. Looking forward to the 35th Annual Pinellas County Fallen Officer Memorial on Wednesday, May 14th, out at the Sheriff's Office. I think that's at 10 o'clock, I believe. Not to forget the CNCN Annual Forum at the East Lake Library. It'll be at 7 to 8:30 on, when is that? Is that a week from? The 19th. And so residents in that area, please come out to the library and we'll have some updates and some interaction there. Commissioner LaValle, thank you for attending Judge Siraka's retirement. I just couldn't get there, and what a good man, and I just wish I had gotten there, but thank you for being there. Good, good stuff. Good stuff. And then just wanted to just finish with a friend of mine, Manny Koutsarias. I promise I'll try not to get emotional about it, but he passed away Friday night. Dear friend that I've been close with over the years, but certainly this last year and a half as he's battled pancreatic cancer. And he is a former mayor of Dunedin, just a great guy, just a really wholesome man. And I'll never forget the first time I met him. We were running for office against each other back in Dunedin in '03, and just a gentleman, and how he approached his campaign. Our friendship has just been solid all the way since then, but I know his son is back in town, and I've just been able to spend a lot of time with him, and just a great guy. And his funeral will be this Friday, 11 o'clock viewing in Tarpon Springs at the Greek Church, and the funeral is at noon. So. Anyway, just had to make sure that I gave a lot of kudos to this man. Did good things, but more than that, he was a good public servant and an even better friend. So, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Thank you for sharing Thank you for bringing up the great debriefing with Jennifer Renner with Animal Services. I thought she really did a great job, too, of just bringing two, often apart groups together and really coming up with what I think are some really good solutions. So kudos to her and her team. So before I forget, I do want to make sure that I thank Deputy Mike Winnick and Jeff Adkison for keeping us safe today. All right, so got that taken care of. Want to thank Barry's team and Chris Rose's team, and also Ken Burke, the clerk of the court, for submitting on time over 1,500 pages of requested information to DOJ, which included budget and line item spending reports, position descriptions, and salaries for employees, all contracts with total cost deliverables and bid process details, grants information, service delivery metrics, and hours worked by department. I have not had a chance to go through it all yet because it is over 1,500 pages, but I believe you're all copied on it, so if you're bored at night, you can read through it. Yesterday, I sent out a memo for consideration for proclamations that historically we have gotten throughout the rest of the year as just an office efficiency process, rather than Colleen trying to go around and chase down 7 people to get authorizations and approvals for signatures. We thought it would be easier just to kind of put this out here and see if we could get approval just in advance to just kind of move forward with all these. These are ones that historically we have approved unanimously individually, and it just really would make our office operate a little more smoothly. And this is not an exhaustive list. This does not include proclamation requests that will come up from the community. These are just historical ones that have come through staff from community that have requested them. So I would like to entertain a motion if you're all okay with this. So, okay, well, we had
I do too.
Okay, all right. We had I think a motion from Commissioner and a second from Commissioner Flowers. All right. Mr. Leffel, and then we'll go to
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I assume that the Pride Proclamation is the language from last year.
Correct.
That was changed? Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
Thanks.
Commissioner Eggers?
And these are ones that we're going to generate proclamations, and
Right.
there'll be some that come here for
Correct.
that. Not all of them, or are all of them coming? I'm okay with it. We've kind of gone away from it, and I think it's nice to have a couple each time, but.
Over the past, since we were focused on recovery,
Yep.
I just thought it was appropriate to hit the pause button on those for a while, just while because we were doing such extensive hurricane and recovery updates, I just didn't feel it was appropriate. But now that we're kind of past that, wanted to move forward, and you can see that we have a lot in May. We've had a lot of requests that have been sort of backing up. And, rather than, like I said, try to chase down 7 people for signatures, I just thought this was easiest to do it this way. And you're right, Commissioner Eggers, not all of these are going to come before us, but a lot of them will. And I know at our next meeting, we're going to have a few. And a lot of presentations as well. So, and there will be others that are going to come through just community requests that we'll bring to you individually as we get them, just trying to clear the deck and make our workload a little easier. Barry, do you have something?
So for historical, what we've tried to do is put about 2, or maybe 3 on per, because otherwise it backs up the meeting, and it takes too long. So they've tried to manage that over time, just as kind of a. But you also do have ones that come through the departments. Right. So that's not exhaustive of the list of the things that come through the departments.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more that are going to come through, but this is just the ones that we historically know about. So just wanted to try to approve them in advance.
When you bring those requests, you'll be asking for approval of the proclamation, but not these, but other ones.
Right.
And whether they're coming here or not, or is it going to be, okay.
Yeah, even if we're sending them out, anything that's going to go out with our 7 signatures on it, whether we're going to present it here or go out, then I want to make sure that everybody says, yeah, I'm good with that, and we approve it.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I've only been here for, about 6 months, and I can tell we got a lot of good people doing good things, and we got a proclamation for nearly every one of them. And so I really appreciate the chair doing this and want to thank you, for your office, for the thoughtful way this, proclamation slate was assembled. It's a practical effort to streamline recognitions that are meaningful to so many across our county. Though, I had some, personal, matters over the weekend, and so really wasn't able to, review this yesterday or really this morning. So I know we recently adopted a commissioner handbook, and the chair office, plays an important role really in coordinating proclamations and ensuring that we really kind of receive each proclamation before our signature, and I support that process and the intent behind it. So I think kind of with all that being said, maybe we'd benefit by taking just a little bit more time by revisiting the slate, maybe into July, so that would create time for us to gather additional proclamations, receive input from staff and community members, and then bring forward a more comprehensive list all at once that would help us to be even more efficient and aligned with moving forward. I haven't had time to, review it. I know Commissioner Scheer's not here either, so I don't know his thoughts on it. So maybe we could just revisit this in July with a more comprehensive list, get time to gather more feedback, so you have a more comprehensive list of all the proclamations.
So are you proposing that we just approve the May and June ones and come back in July, or just not do
I'm just saying
any
we
of
just, take a little, brief time out and, bring a full list, keep business as usual for the next 2 months, and that would give us time to gather a more comprehensive list.
Well, I mean, this is the comprehensive list of historic ones that we have done. This is not what the community may bring forward that we don't know about.
Right.
So I would call those perhaps incurred but not reported. We don't know what they are yet. These are the ones that we've historically always done and unanimously signed off on. So I'm just looking to make my office life a little easier, so we just know in advance that these are done. If there's anything on this list that goes against anybody's personal belief and would like to take it off, and then we can deal with that one the way we've always done it and just try to get individual signatures. And if somebody doesn't want to sign on to something, then that's fine. I mean, typically I try to get at least 6 signatures, okay, to send something out. I mean, I think sort of a minimum is kind of 5, because I think after that it kind of loses significance. So if we can't get, I think really at least 5, it's probably not worth doing. So I would propose, if there's anything on this list that causes anybody any heartburn or goes any personal beliefs, I would entertain a motion to accept the others, and then we can handle any individual one on its own.
Yeah, it's just a matter that I haven't really, my mom had a stroke a few weeks ago, and so I had to go to Baltimore and deal with that. So I just really haven't had a time to look at the whole list. So I don't, I wouldn't feel comfortable voting on a whole list without, looking at each one. So that's why I thought, hey, maybe be able to promote into the community among staff, hey, we're doing a slate, which, is kind of against our handbook, that we did adopt. So I don't know if that plays, if this is an amendment to the handbook or not. So I just thought maybe it would give us time to work the handbook side of it that we did adopt, which this is kind of going against.
Well, it's just a workflow process. That's all it is, a workflow process.
And anything, excuse me, I'm sorry, anything that if we make a motion, then what this would do is amend, that workbook is, that handbook is a living document that will always change.
Okay.
So, so as far as the handbook goes, if we adopt this, then that would kind of go into that. But I don't have a problem with this list, and I think since we've approved it for many years, and I know we have new people on here, I think what we could do is we could move forward on this, and then if you have an objection, we can retract it. We can take it out. But this is a big savings, a huge savings for the chair's office to do this, and I highly recommend we do this just for the sake of expedience for the chair's office, because having to chase all of these aides around because they aren't responding to emails is problematic. And it takes a lot of time that they've got, and there's a lot more to do when you're the chair. And so I fully support this. And again, if there's one that you have a problem with, then I think, we can come back later after you've had time. You can bring it up again and say, I want to remove this one. And I think that should be done every year, however you want to do that. But, I think we took a good close look at a lot of these that I think they're fine.
I don't really have any problem if we, over the next month or two, any of us have other ones that we want to consider. Maybe we can look at another list in July to add on to this list that we're approving today. I don't think there's anything.
Kind of similar to what we used to do with the Skyway lighting.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And this is the list that we just did through the end of this year, but, we could look at, more of an annual list and pre-approve in advance. But I'm just trying to, as you said very well, there's just a lot that comes through the chair's office. There really is. And particularly with the workload of constituent work that we've had over the last few months and probably going to continue for a while, we need to be spending time on that, not chasing aides around.
Yeah. Did you have any, and again, we can do this today, no problem, to look at January through April? That's past. Do we have any that we consistently do every year?
I think we do. We just kind of hit the pause button in January.
No, I understand, but do you want to add to this list that we normally do?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay,
Yeah,
we could bring that back maybe, and just, because it's not necessary for now, because we.
Right. But this could be something that, kind of
Yeah.
a living document
Yep.
that the future chairs could, could use as well. So, Don, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, as Commissioner Shearer's out on an emergency, I kind of feel it's a little awkward. The way this came up, it came up in the context of kind of changing your procedures, as Commissioner Peters alluded to. And I think it would be good if this, whatever list this is, gets appended to your procedures and as the living document that the thing references itself to be. I also wanted to mention that Commissioner Shearer reached out to me and asked if he could send out information or respond about the proclamations. That was a very brief exchange, and my head was at, given the context that this was about the process, that no, we should talk about it here at this meeting. Given his absence, I felt that it was a good idea to let you all know that he had reached out, and I cautioned him about reaching out individually on these because of the sunshine law issues and the nature of the change to your procedures. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody's consideration, so everybody's on the same page and aware of that here at this meeting. Now, I know your process typically is just seeking, as the process is written, seeking authority from the individual commissioners to use their signature on a proclamation. As that process is going forward, that's not a big issue. But again, because it was unclear as to whether it was about your process or an individual proclamation, I'd cautioned him. So,
okay.
Do you know what Commissioner Scherer's opinion was?
I have no idea. That was the sole insight I can give you.
So in that light, I'll amend my motion to just accept the next 2 months. Okay. And then we can bring this back and have a fuller conversation. And I know I did send to your office a recommendation of 2 other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if the seconder would be amenable to that, okay.
All right. Okay.
So just, we're approving May and June.
May and June, and then we'll.
And then
bring
we
back
can
a
bring it back,
more
and that way
comprehensive list.
there's good, full discussion, and everybody has plenty of time to really pour over each one of them.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, got it.
Maybe we can add the January through April.
Yeah,
list
yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll plan to do.
That we normally do.
Right.
That's all.
Is there any other work we can assign
Well, it sounds like we're trying to help her.
Yeah, right. All right, any further discussion on that? We have a motion and a second. Okay, we'll do, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right, 6-1.
Can I just note for the record that I'm voting opposing it because I haven't had time to review what is in May and June? Thank you.
Sure, okay. Okay, I'll finish up my new business here. Quick, I had a chance to kind of review a little bit, not as in-depth yet as I would like to, the after-action report for the hurricanes. I think there's a lot of really good takeaways in there. I think we really did learn a lot in that. One thing I would like to see, one thing I thought that was missing was that we didn't have a process for citizen input. I mean, I guess maybe in some ways we do, just with the input that we get from, from our emails and our phone calls, but we've gone through with the CBDGR process, a very intensive input process, collaborative process with the residents. But we haven't really done that with this after-action report. And I think we should do that. And I think we've got some opportunities with some upcoming community meetings that we can solicit some feedback. And we may think we already know what they're going to say, and maybe we do, but maybe we don't. I mean, I think we've learned a lot going through the community input process for CDBGR, and I think it would be good for us to do that as well. Because at the end of the day, they are the end users, and they are in our organizational chart. The citizens are at the top of it, so I think we should do that. And just as a side note recommendation that I have is I think that for future training, we've basically been through a mass casualty event in a lot of ways when it comes to housing, and I think staff could use some trauma training. The frontline staff, when they're dealing with residents on some of these issues, and we've gotten a lot of emails and phone calls and feedback of not getting correct information, getting attitudes from some frontline staff, and they're stressed as well. And they're trying to manage a lot of various inputs here, and they may or may not be trained to really handle that and deal with that. So I really think that should be something for consideration going forward. So that's kind of my comment on that. So I did attend the Palm Harbor CDBGDR public meeting, which I thought we got some really good input there. Really hacked up the course in the county golf scramble this past Saturday with Brian Loack and Jason Latimer, so they're probably still out there with their backhoes fixing that up. Yesterday, I want to thank Animal Services bringing Macy out to there we go. All right, there's Macy. What a great little dog. And Macy has already been adopted. So, yeah, so Macy is, no, not by me, not by me. I think my wife would kill me. I already have a dog, so. But anyways, Macy is a great little dog, and she's already been adopted, so she's found her forever home, and we're really happy for her. Had the opportunity to make some opening remarks at the spring session of the Pinellas Citizens University, and was really just pleased. There was, I don't know, over 30 people in that class. Just really good questions and a lot of engagement, so it was really great to see that. And then, let's see, tomorrow, we've got, I think, the Bayou Court ribbon cutting, and then Turner Bungalow, Heritage Village exhibit opening, and the Besties Award Thursday night, and a lot of stuff coming up over the next few weeks. So that really kind of concludes my report. So
I've got something you brought up that report, and I thought that was a great report. I think it's worth a discussion. Because it says actions, but I'd like to see the action plans and how they're going to get implemented. So, for example, debris, I know you meet with the city managers, are we actively trying to get them to coordinate with us and do it with us? Have we talked to smaller cities that maybe would be willing to change their ordinances to match ours and maybe do what Indian Rocks Beach does? And you may not want that, but there are just certain things that I think we could be proactively doing. Hurricane season starts in a month, and I just think there's a lot of action items in here, and I thought it was a really great report. I really appreciated getting it. I know Kathy did a great job, but I would like to have some, the action items are written there, but when the rubber hits the road, is it going to sit on a shelf, or are we going to do stuff?
So we're doing it, okay? And I can schedule that for a work session to where staff can go through one of the issues, not to get, if we start down the rabbit hole, we could go through the entire report, but the debris, Kelly's all over that, working with all of her municipal partners, the public works directors, trying to work with them on consolidating sites, how to manage those, and et cetera, and stuff. So there's a lot of work going into it. But it's a great time. We can schedule that for a work session to be able to go through that in greater detail.
Thanks, I appreciate it, because I just want to make sure that I see actions on the paper, but, just like strategic plans, sometimes good intentions, but they
No,
collect us. So,
Fully understand. Be happy to do that.
thank you.
It's good, really good point. Glad you brought that up, and it made me think of something else. We mentioned at our Tri-County meeting last week about, what's our plan going forward for, should we have this happen again this year? Are we going to rely on, I guess the state's not going to provide tidal basin any further, and what's our plan? Do we have an RFP, or what are we going to do should we have a mass casualty event again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have a good answer for you at this time. I think we've talked about it internally. We've got to work with our municipal partners. Obviously, it's up to them. That's what the state has stated. That's what Kevin Guthrie has stated. We could coordinate a bid process similar we do for debris, and then municipalities could sign on to those contracts and utilize those resources. That's probably the most practical way of handling that type of work. It's not going to solve their long-term issue, though, because the contractors' work that can help them. The bigger issue is having a permit system where they can track and they can ramp up and scale. And a lot of the smaller jurisdictions, they don't have that in place. And so until they have that, you're going to continue, if you get that type of mass need, it's going to hinder their ability to scale up like that. But we can certainly, that is something we've talked about internally. I don't think we have a solution yet, but we're aware of it.
The municipalities are they got their own set of circumstances, but I'm just thinking from a county perspective at this point.
Well, we absolutely, we already have those resources under contract. That was one of the reasons we were able to scale up. Now, obviously, we use the state's tidal basin, but we can easily replace that contract. And so that's not an issue for the county. I'm more concerned about the municipalities.
So we already have a plan for that.
We can. Well, not with the municipalities. I think that's something the municipalities need to schedule. Frankly, I would see them coming together, and I'm talking maybe the Barrier Islands. It'd be easier for them to come together and bid it, or we can help them with that and bid it, and they can jump on it. There's a lot of different ways we can approach it, but I hear you. Time is of the essence, and we need to act, and that's a key piece that we probably need to do sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I would say, particularly on the Barrier Islands, leadership is gone.
I know.
It's gone. And the citizens are suffering, and they may not be an unincorporated, but they're citizens of this county. And we're only as good as our weakest link. And right now, with no leadership there, that's our, there's nobody on that Barrier Island that could handle another storm coming through this year. So I just think it's going to have to be one of those things where we show leadership and we do something to kind of help bring them along. And I know that's not our role, and they're independent, but
they're all our residents.
They're all our residents.
You said it, and we've talked about this before. I 100% agree with you. They are our residents. We can't replace their permitting structure and their financial resources. But we certainly could provide a bid where they have resources to be able to contract with.
Well, we could do that, or we could talk to them about adopting the same kind of ordinances that we have and having continuity throughout the county. And then if something did happen, we could replace with the same team, but it could be more. We do it for Indian Rocks Beach. So we contract with Indian Rocks Beach. So Indian Rocks Beach clearly must have the same ordinances we do.
Well, actually, they have their own ordinance. Each municipality has their own floodplain ordinance. Now, what we do is we provide them building and inspection services. Okay. So as part of that contract with them, they're under our permit system. They're under our CELA system.
Right.
That gave us the ability to scale and be able to provide that type of service. So that's the piece. If, we would have to literally scale up to take over permitting processes with whatever jurisdiction wanted to do that. That's different. That's a blue sky type issue because we're having trouble meeting our own physical requirements. And so we could do that, but it would have to be a planned process with municipalities that wanted to do that with us.
Well, I think a planned process would be a great way to go. So, again, we could talk about this as another workshop, but time is of the essence. And like I said, at this point, there's no leadership on those Barrier Islands. Everybody has fled.
And I'd be happy to attend the Big C and have those types of discussions. They could team up together and do that. They could come with the county. So we'd be happy to have those types of detailed conversations.
Because most of them don't have
I
that
welcome it.
technology that could expedite it. They don't have the technology. They don't. And I don't think anyone has coached them or talked to them or even considered an approach to them to get up to scale.
I have had this conversation with several mayors and managers.
Okay.
So, again, I think everybody right now is just try to get their head above water. That's part of the reason that I think those conversations haven't occurred. But we'd be happy to engage and have those conversations.
Thank you.
But to Commissioner Peters' comment about having a workshop to go over that after action, are we going to do that?
Yeah, we'll absolutely put that. The question is when.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
I mean, it really needs to punt to July because we've got
budget all next month.
This next one in 2 weeks or week and a half, we've got a lot of items on that work session, and then we go into the BIS meetings, in June, so we don't have a scheduled workshop there, and so it'd be really July. But these other actions can be occurring prior to having the workshop.
Yeah.
So we're not slowing down, and I think it would be good for us to have that type of report for you, because there's a lot of work that's going on right now.
Yeah, and really, yeah, I'd like to have that kind of conversation and understand, because I remember we kept hearing about the rules that were in place at the time of the storm. I'd like to understand what that looks like and what we can do about that as well. I mean, that's an important piece. May not be able to do much about anything.
Right.
But on the other hand, there are some rules that were in place at the time where we said, well, that's what we have to go by.
Yeah.
Because it was in place. I just want to make sure we understand what that is
Okay,
as well.
That's our flood. That's our.
I understand.
Our
I get
floodplain
it. But it's
ordinance.
all
But
related.
we can bring
to
that back.
this- It's all related to the same stuff. And on a special note, I wanted to thank the residents of Eastlake for being extraordinarily patient with having that one facility up there still open, getting our trees and our park stuff, but it's all going to that location. I drove by it the other day and I said, what's that still doing open? But that's the only, but anyway, schools let us use it, and we really haven't gotten a plethora of calls from the residents. So I appreciate their patience, but boy, I'd like to have that closed before the season starts. It'd be nice.
It's closed. Kelly just said it's closed.
It is.
But they,
All good.
and,
Thank you.
and that is a big kudos to our staff, because they did listen to the neighbors, and they were trying to be sensitive to the neighbors, understanding that we had to have a site somewhere, and there is no.
Well, they definitely moved it away from the neighbors.
And,
That was
and
great.
so they
'cause
tried their best, understanding there is no distant location in the county. So.
Thank you.
On the topic of the Bear Islands, and I can say this because I only represent 2 of them, and they really can't vote for me, except for those 2, but with the exception of Mayor Gaddis, a lot of those folks should just be consolidated into one city. Because they yell and scream about home rule and leave us alone and, let us be. And then you have something, drastic like we had last year, and they basically can't do anything for themselves. They couldn't pick up debris themselves. They can't get permitting themselves. I'm sure I'm not the only one that still has requests for permits on some of these small Bear Islands that have 2,000 residents, and they can't even get that finished 6 months after the fact. And I know that it's not our responsibility. We have to worry about our folks, and if they want to be cities, they need to kind of prove it. Because I believe that there will be an effort in Tallahassee, and I think there is already an effort to consolidate a large part of Pinellas County, because those people cannot govern themselves, and they haven't proven that they can. Now that I'm off of that soapbox, I failed to mention.
A large part of Pinellas County, you said?
No, just along the beaches. With the
It's a large
exception
stretch.
of Bel Air Beach and Indian Rocks Beach, they're good. They're in District 5. They do a good job. Mayor Gaddis has it down pat. Some of those beach communities can learn from him, frankly. But the rest is in District 6. They need to learn from their commissioner how to be a good leader. Because when she was mayor, she did a good job. But I forgot to mention that this Monday, we're having a special meeting at JWB because Beth Houghton submitted her retirement. And so we will be looking for a new CEO, and I wanted to wish her well in retirement. She served Pinellas well as JWB. And I also wanted to thank my buddy, Commissioner Eggers, for mentioning the absolute dear of a man and legend of a man, Manning Kutsarias, in his passing. He literally was Dunedin. And I would say he was the best mayor that Dunedin ever had, but we served with one of their better mayors. But Manny certainly was in the top. Manny was certainly in the top 3 with Tom Anderson and Dave Eggers and Manny. But he served served Dunedin for decades, and all his different things that he did, and he will be missed.
So Della, being watching as on her day off, reminded me that Kathy will be in here for a hurricane update on May 20th. So we'll have her give a brief update at that time, and then we'll schedule a workshop later.
Sounds good. There we go. All right. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.